today we're looking into blueprints, job profiles, and competencies. And what we will cover today is how to manage job profiles, how to manage the competencies, how you can use the competency matrix to map the competencies to job profiles. And we'll also look into how you manage talent plans, which means how you assign job profiles and competencies to different users. And then we will have a look at how you can then monitor where people are in terms of their progress with being compliant with the job profile and competency requirements. First off, let's look at how we add job profiles and assign competencies and courses and programs to it. So I'll bring up my system here. Now, this is your current version of Blueprint Fresno. As you can see, those who have been with us for a while, we have done an upgrade to the UX user interface. And in the next version, this is going to go across further into more features as well with the new interface. On the home page, you will see there's an option that says training plan. And there you'll find my talent plan, which is your talent plan view, the competency matrix that I've just talked about, how to manage the talent plans and add competencies. These last three you see because you are logged in as system admins. Depending on how the roles are set up on the system, the role permissions, managers and other users may be able to see one or all of these menu items as well. When you log in as a system admin, you've probably already noticed you go directly to the system admin panel where you can do all sorts of stuff, managing users, courses, programs, and the portal itself. Right at the bottom of that screen, you will find there is another section called Talent. And in that section is where we find competency and job profiles and competency matrix. So first off, to add a competency, how do we add a competency in Blueprint? So we just click on Add Competency here, and we put in a title. Say, for example, I will put in, say, privacy awareness. Could be a competency. Confidential. You can also put a description there as well. And with competencies, as you know, there are competencies that might expire over a certain number of times, especially to do with, first aid and things like that. Those competencies expire every 3 years or 1 year, depending on the competency. So you can also set an expiry for the competency. And it could be months or years as well. So I'll leave this one as not to expire. Then we put into a category. And there are a few categories that are already there, which in my system, but you can create a new category as well and put this new competency into that category. So in my case, I'll just select the general category. Then comes what is required to achieve that competency. Now you can have courses or programs or certificates or external certificate and even evidence-based requirements. So it can be a combination of all of these or just one or two of these. So in my case, what I'll do is I will select, we're talking about privacy, so I'll say privacy. And let's say child safe standard is also relevant. So I'll add that in, which means in this instance, in order for someone to be competent in this particular competency, they'll need to complete these two courses. And what I'll also do is I would like to see some evidence as well, or rather their manager would like to see some evidence of this having having completed this competency. So let's say I want to see certificate, or actually, let's say certificate in privacy and confidentiality course done in an RTO. For example, that's what I need to see as an evidence for me to say that, okay, this person has got that competency as well as those two courses. And I will select myself as a platform admin to be able to say, yep, when I've video viewed that evidence and mark them off saying that is valid. So once I've done that, I will add that competency. So that's competency is now created. And we will now see it in our competency matrix, which is also here in the talent section, which is where we go to map the job profiles and competencies. So we go to competency matrix, and there you go. Privacy and confidentiality. Oops, I made a mistake with the spelling, sorry. But privacy and confidentiality is a new competency that's been created. Now, what I can do is, and I can see all the job profiles over here that are already there. If I wanted, I could also create a new job profile by clicking that button. Allows me to create a new job profile if this is for a particular new job profile. And if I don't want to create a new job profile, I can always go and map this particular one with the ones that are currently there. So for example, this is relevant to everyone who is, say, the general manager, managing director profile, someone who's a support team member, and the general staff member as well. So I just map that way. Just clicking on the box maps that particular competency with the job profiles that I've got. And then I go and click Save All. And that goes and saves that for that particular job profile, all the ones that I've selected. So now that I've done assigning a competency with a job profile, what I need to do now is to make sure that this is now assigned to user. So let's go back to administration here. And then we've got the manage talent plans. So we click on manage talent plans and we select the users we want to assign that particular competency as well as the job profile maybe. So I can select from here, what do I want to do? So I'll go job profiles and competency both. And that then brings the competencies out as well. So say for learner test, I want to assign the job profile of general staff member. And as soon as I do that, you notice that privacy and confidentiality or confidentiality that I've created is already marked because I have already mapped that competency to this job profile. So once I've mapped these to the user, I can then say who gets to final say on when this competency is achieved or the job profile has been completed. So I can say, for example, the platform administrator, which is me, or I can say the person's manager. Let's say it's me. And then I can say, put the final approval to the competency or the job profile or for both. I'm responsible for both, so I'll put both here and save it. So that's now mapped. Once I've done that mapping, I can now go and click on Talent Plan View. and select that particular user, test learner. Click on Go. And I can now see that general staff member job profile added to this user. And I can see the requirements of it. And there's my new competency. And if I click on it, I can see that the requirements for that particular competency. And I can also see that there is this privacy course that is tick, which means this person, because they had already completed the privacy course, they have already been given a tick mark on that particular requirement. So now for this user to achieve this competency, we can see that they need to present an evidence and they need to complete the child safe standards course. So now what we have just gone through is a quick life cycle of creating a competency, assigning it into the competency matrix for the required job profiles, and then assigning it to the users who need to complete that competency, and then viewing it in their talent plan view to see where they're at with that. So that's the full cycle of this process. Now, I'd like to ask, is there any questions in that?
I was just wondering, does that job profile that you were creating there connect back to the user profile that we set at when we create a new user?
Yes. So when you create a new user, you cannot assign it yet not in this version, but that is actually a good idea, and we'll take that under advisement and we'll put it forward to our team so that we can assign job profiles directly when you're creating a user. Currently, you can't do that in this version. So now let's have a look at how the evidence system works. There's multiple ways you can obviously evidence a course or the certificate. One is, let's say this is an external certificate that they've achieved from an RTO, as the requirement is in that evidence requirement. So what the users then do, and you can do this on behalf of users as well, under certificates, they can go to external certificates and add that particular certificate that they achieved and upload it into this system, which then triggers an approval process. I won't go into details of this bit because it's not today's topic, and I'll go into a different thing altogether. We'll have another webinar about external certificates and external training requests, probably next month, actually. But once they have uploaded that certificate and it has been approved by the LMS admins or by their manager, you can then, and you have cited it and it's been verified, you can then go into the approval section like so, and under evidence assessment, you can go and say, yep, I've seen it and I will verify it. So once you have recorded the verification, we can now look into the talent plan view, and we can see for that learner, for that job profile, and for that competency, we can see the evidence is now saying 1 of 1, which means it has been verified and it has been approved. And we see a tick box there to say that this has been verified. And we also see who verified it as well. So that then tells us that this person has achieved 2 of the 3 requirements of these particular competencies. And as they keep going and completing the competencies, they will ultimately be able to get the requirements of their job profiles completed, and that is then marked off as well. And all through the system, you'll notice that as soon as you look into this, for example, this highlighted one tells you that this user is enrolled in the course, but they have not completed, obviously the tick tells you it's completed. This one, when you hover, it says it's users not enrolled. These ones, as you can see, have not been mapped yet. There's another one that's been mapped. This one's not been mapped. We can look into another user, for example. Here's something different. This one here. So you can see that this person's got a completely different set of competencies. So as you see, this is how we can easily map competencies and job profiles to users and view where they are at in their progress. Few other things that we can also do in competency matrix through the competency matrix is this. We can also look at how they're going in terms of their requirement for the job profile. So as you can see, for this one, test trainer or test learner, they're still in progress and they have been assigned. They're still in progress. That means if they had achieved it, we'd have gotten a tick there. We can also look into competencies, if any of that have been created. We can look into users and courses. For example, all of these three people have done the privacy course, which is why we've got a tick, and the others are still in progress. You can just change these view modes to see different levels of requirements in terms of those users. There's also a search facility there, which you can search and narrow it down. A few other things that competency matrix allows you to do as well. You can isolate a particular competency. For example, if I click on this hide, it hides it. And it says one job profile hidden. If I put the eye again, and you can see it again, you can make it focus on this particular one. So you can see that. And if I click further in, it just isolates it. And then just click outside, and it goes back to where it was. You can also edit the name of the job profile if there's a change, or change the category of the job profile from here as well. You can also do the same with the competencies. You can hide them. You can also edit them directly from here, and then you get to the edit. Also, you can order the competencies by category titles, or you can order the job profiles as well. So that way as well. The other thing you can also do, sometimes the job profiles may require things done directly as part of the job profile. So not through a competency, but directly a requirement of that job profile. It could be a course, it could be a program, it could be a certificate that you need to get. For example, maybe people managers need a leadership certificate that they need to have, regardless of any of the competencies that they achieve for that job profile. You can add that here as well. So anything you add here gets directly, say for example, this training certificate or digital certificate. This gets automatically selected for that whole job profile. This is in addition to the competencies that's required to get that job profile. So let's have a look at, so save this. And I'll assign people manager to one of my users here. Manage talent plans, training test manager, and also the job profiles. Select that, and I will add people manager, that one. And now if I look into the talent plan view, test manager, people profile managers there. So you now see that certificate. As you can see, there's no competencies required at all. So to become a people manager, you need to have that certificate. So once that digital security certificate has been achieved and it is in their record, the requirements for this job profile will be fulfilled. So this only needs that. So it's directly linked to the job profile. Any questions? No? Okay. Well, that's pretty much what we had for today. We've covered the competency matrix. I've shown you how to add a competency, add a job profile, assign competencies to job profile, assign courses, and we saw how to view job profile against competencies, against users, and then competencies and users against each other, and the users against courses. We saw all of that, how you can get those. Here's some screenshots for your benefit. I'll attach the PowerPoint as well, so you can see it. We've also seen how to assign job profiles and competencies to users, how you can do the approval settings, and how you can assign this manage talent plans area. We can look into user compliance to the talent plan view. And there are some of our support contacts, and you can contact sales at GV Media, or you can contact our support for any queries or questions about job profiles and competencies or anything else that you're having issues with in terms of Blueprint. So that brings us to the end of our session. Yep, Caroline?
I'm kind of curious to know, like, how long do you think it'd be for that update for it to blend with our user profile? Like, because I can see that setting it up with our organisation would be massive to assign job profiles when we're organising, you know, the different, although we have broad view where we have compliance training that everyone must do.
Yep.
Like in terms of managing special sort of components of it for different crews, like what a community care worker would have versus what a parks and gardens, you know, and the different
Yep.
safety sort of messages that would come across in both groups, maybe potentially.
Mm.
So I can see
Yeah.
that managing it from the user profile would cut out a lot of. And then I guess
Yep.
I've got some questions around privacy in terms of, like, if we were to say in a job, for example, a community care worker must have a police check every 3 years and must show working
Mm-hmm.
with children, how would that work in this profile where they're not necessarily doing a learning task, but they're
Yeah.
producing evidence to show, and that's part of maintaining their role?
Okay. Okay, excellent question. So I'll answer the first question in two parts. First off, in terms of adding the job profiles to the user profiles, that is in our roadmap for the next version, which will come out end of this year, Aleppo. And the other part of that answer is as well that we can also do integrations if need be. So if you've got a system where these job profiles are assigned, say, for example, your HR system, we can set up an integration with the HR system so that the job profiles get mapped when the users are getting created on the LMS from that HRS integration. So we could do that way as well. In terms of competencies as well, we can implement integrations with, if you've got a standard competency area or a site that you refer to, we can set up integration with that site to get the competencies across. Also, however, in that case, the site, the third party, would have to have the capability to send us those competencies as well. But those are a few options there. And the first part, the user profile with job profiles. We're getting that in the next version that's coming out. In terms of the second question, the privacy bit of it. Um, so as you saw when I was showing the system, and I'll show it again, um, in the competency matrix, when you're mapping them directly with the job profiles, you can add certificates or add competencies or certificates directly to the job profile, which could be your working with children check license, which could be that the first aid or the other, or heavy vehicle driving license or something like that. You can directly attach it to the competency, and when that expires, it will automatically expire the competency of the job profile. So you can do it two ways. One, you can directly attach that particular license to the job profile, and it is managed because it's an external certificate or a license, which is not done through a course. It is the learners manage it through the external certificates. They upload the license, you review it, you verify it, and obviously that will have an expire date. When that expires, automatically the requirement for the job profile expires. Same thing with the competency as well. You can attach in the competency as well. You can attach an external certificate as well. Again, when that expires, the competency expires. As well as, if you don't want to go down that path, you can put it as an evidence. So, um, cite working with children checks. Something like that. You could put that as the evidence, and you can set who can sign it off after citing the evidence. And then you can also have that marked off that way as well. So there's multiple ways you can implement those renewable licenses or certificates. Does that answer your question?
It does, but I guess I'll ask another question, and it might get answered in the next lot of training to do with the certificates. Has
Yes.
that changed a little bit, that external certificate? Because I think previously when I've tried to implement some of that strategy where people can upload, makes it visible to everybody. Like if anybody uploads a certificate that they've attended a training or something like that, has that changed a little bit the way that that's seen
Yeah,
now,
it
or?
will still be visible to all admins. So all admins, because they are, in a sense, god of the system, they obviously
Yeah,
see everyone's everything. But they are hidden from learner to learner. So if I'm a learner
right.
and you're a learner, you won't be able to see mine. However,
Yeah,
if
okay.
I'm your manager, then I'll be able to see yours. So it goes that hierarchically.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. Thank you.
Ishti, I don't have so much of a question. It's just some information for all of our Blueprint users. Next week, we'll be sending out a link to a product board. And in that product board, you will be able to add any kind of suggestions of enhancements that you would like to see. It's a public-facing board as well, so you will be able to get to vote on particular functions that you might need to see in a new release. And you'll be able to see those go across the board to say whether they'll be considered, whether they're planned, whether they're being investigated, whether they're being released, or even if we won't consider doing it. So look out for an email next week on the product board.
Thank you all, everyone, for joining. And yeah, there'll be another one next month. Hopefully, you'll be able to join as well, and I'll send through invitation for that when before we do it. Thank you, everyone. See ya.